Welcome back, AgEcon. So in the last video, we read that lovely COVID-19 impact on supply and demand article, and we found that through our own experiences through COVID-19, a lot of our store shelves look like the one that we see on our screen over to the right. This is because not necessarily a supply issue, but rather consumers like you and I were demanding, especially because we had a lot of questions and concerns about what was going to be in store after March 2020. And we wanted to go out and buy as much as we could so that we had it in case of an emergency. Okay, this is demand. Demand is the willingness and ability of buyers to purchase different quantities of a good at different prices during a specific period of time. As it relates to our toilet paper case study, when we go out and buy lots of toilet paper and wipe store shelves clean, what do you think is going to happen to the price of toilet paper when more toilet paper is produced? Think it's going to be higher or lower? If you answered higher, you definitely be correct because there's limited amounts of toilet paper available, markets are forced to drive prices up so that only the people who are willing and able to sacrifice the money they have are able to purchase it. I don't know if you remember what stores you all shopped at during the pandemic. I know for me personally, even in Ernie's here in town on Staples, they had signs up limiting how many packages of toilet paper you could buy at a time, simply because so many people were going crazy and buying lots and lots and lots of toilet paper because that's what society was saying we needed to do because that was the big product that everyone needed to have. And especially like as we saw in that article, generally the demand for toilet paper is pretty consistent because we're only going to be quote unquote producing so much, if you know what I mean, between you and I and everyone in society. Like the amount of waste that we produce isn't really going to be affected a whole lot. So they produce as suppliers generally the same amount of toilet paper on a given year or on monthly basis. But because of COVID-19 and the large demand that we saw for toilet paper products, they were forced to drive up the prices. Okay, so what might a demand graph look like? Okay, think about it. We have talked a little bit about this in class of what supply and demand mean, but now we're really gonna look at this from a mathematical side. So I'll give you a hint. Okay, the two factors that affect supply and demand are price and quantity. Okay, so do you think that if we have higher quantity of something, that the price is going to be higher or lower? Okay, so this kind of goes back to that toilet paper case study. If we have more of something, the value the society will place on it will be less. Okay, so demand graphs are always going to be downward sloping, like we see over to the right. Chocolate bar demand graph. Okay, so we can see on this graph that at a $2 price, so if we charge $2 for a Hershey's chocolate bar, according to the market research, less than 100 people will be willing to buy it at that price. But as the price and the value of the chocolate bar goes down, we charge $1.20, we find that 300 consumers are now willing and able to purchase chocolate bars. Because the price goes down, more people are able to afford it. Okay. So if the price of a good that supplier sells goes up, do you think consumers will want to buy more or fewer units? Generally, the answer is going to be fewer because if the price goes up, we're not going to be able to purchase as much. We're not going to be willing and able to make as many sacrifices. If the price of a good that supplier sells goes down, the flip side, we're going to want to buy more units, stock up on it, right? Generally, if you are at the store, the pig principle applies pretty well here. If you see a deal for macaroni and cheese, boxes of macaroni and cheese, and it's one box for $1 or two boxes for $1.25, most of us are probably going to reach for that second box and put it in our cart, even though we don't necessarily need it. But our mind and the economist in us is telling us, go ahead and buy that because 25 cents, it's a great value. You're saving 75 cents. Okay, and the last one is what factors might affect a consumer's ability and willingness to buy a good or service. And there are a lot of things here, folks, that can affect this. Not only our personal incomes and the money that we make or our families make, but also the amount of people that we have in our family, potentially trends. If there's a big trend going on, like everyone is going out and buying that toilet paper, right? That would affect someone's willingness to buy that good because they know that it's going away. So they want to stock up on that good if they think it's going away. Or if there's false information spread out in the media, we'll talk a lot about this with the dairy industry as we go into Unit 2. The dairy industry is facing a lot of challenges with supply and demand right now. And a lot of it is due in large part to consumer perceptions about the dairy industry and the dairy community and false information that exists out there. So many different factors affect demand. We'll talk more about that as we go into the rest of the semester, but this is just a brief introduction to demand. Thank you for watching.